Okay, year 5 and 6, what we're going to be doing over the next two lessons, we're going to be looking at the great Victorian engineer, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and also building a bridge out of newspaper and some sellotape. And that bridge has got to be really strong to hold up a can of baked beans. Okay, so let's start with saying that wonderful name, Isambard Kingdom Brunel. I say it, Isambard Kingdom Brunel. You say it. Okay. Isambard Kingdom Brunel was a great engineer of the British Industrial Revolution. Okay, so we're going to find out a bit about the Industrial Revolution, just a little to find out what era he was living in. I'm going to show you an image while I go through a bit about the Industrial Revolution, and then I'm going to show you a short video about it, and we're going to discuss his life, and then I'll tell you what I want you to do. Okay, cheers. Okay, so there we've got a picture of Isambard Kingdom Brunel, looking fantastic in a very fashionable hat. They were very fashionable in Victorian times. You could even keep your lunch underneath the hat, but keep your sandwich there, wrapped in a bit of cloth. So that's Isambard Kingdom Brunel, in front of some fantastic chain. Can you imagine making that thickness of chain out of iron ore? Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so he lived smack bang during the British Industrial Revolution. Okay, what was the British Industrial Revolution? If we think about modern China and how modern Chinese cities have grown in the last 20 to 30 years, China before was an agrarian, mainly an agricultural economy, but suddenly everything is made in China. If you imagine going back to 1750, that is where we find Great Britain. Great Britain was basically an agricultural economy. But then by 1914, from that period 1750 to 1915, well, 1914, the start of the First World War, we know that period as the British Industrial Revolution. Okay, there was massive changes in agriculture, so less people needed to work on the land. There's also a massive growth of the UK population. Okay, people started to move away from agriculture into better paid jobs in industry. They moved from their cottages, small farm production, into massive factories, okay, where things could be produced on a much larger scale at a much cheaper cost. Okay, this resulted in the growth of large industrial towns like Liverpool, Newcastle, London increased, Bristol, Swansea, Cardiff in Wales. So all these places massively grew their population. People moved from the countryside into these cities to look for jobs, well-paid jobs in the factories. And these factory jobs were powered by British coal and steam. Coal was the fuel, steam were the engines that drove the engines that drove the factory and drove the production. So it's all started with coal and iron. Okay, this change in energy from traditionally wind power into water power into steam power really enabled these big factories to develop. Okay, also during this period, apart from the growth of industrial towns and cities and the move from water and wind to steam engines, there's massive exploitation of British coal reserves to fuel that steam power. There's also a massive revolution in transport and communications. Before the railways and the steam engine, traditional communication or transport were provided by canals and horsepower. Suddenly, during the Industrial Revolution, people could move around much faster on railways. Communication, the telegraph, which is a bit like the telephone, was developed during this period, so people could communicate between town and towns much quicker, rather than relying on letters being posted and then delivered by horse. Okay, so there's huge changes, and this is the period we find Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who was a great engineer, smack bang in the middle of this industrial revolution. And it was in the area of transportation where he really fits in. And he was a fantastic bridge builder, railway builder, ship builder. So we're going to look at some of the aspects of Isambard Kingdom Brunel's life. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. So I've just done a little PowerPoint of Isambard Kingdom Brunel. He's looking very stylish in his top hat there, and his Victorian clothing. Okay. Maybe, you know, sort of, you'd like to be famous, a famous footballer or YouTuber. In Victorian times, people often dreamt about being famous for being an amazing engineer, like Isambard Kingdom Brunel. So he was a real celebrity of his time. Very successful and world-renowned, and he's still very famous now. He really valued his education, really worked hard at school, and he really persevered with his designs and his engineering, so he showed real great resilience. So he built bridges, tunnels, railways and ships over 100 years ago. So we're going to find out a bit about his life and works. He was born on the 9th of April 1806 in a town called Portsmouth, which is down on the coast, his south coast. He had two older sisters called Sophia and Emma. His dad Mark was an engineer, and his mum was a governess before they got married. So his dad was quite a successful engineer in his own right. In 1807, the Brunel family moved to London. They lived close to the River Thames. Brunel liked swimming and playing with toy boats. Brunel's first school was in England. Later, when he went to school in France, he went to very good schools and really valued his education, like we just said. He was good at maths. His father taught him how to draw. He really persevered with his drawing. He liked dressing up and also acting out in plays. So he liked doing a lot of different type of things. When he was young, Brunel spent some time working at a clockmaker's, learning how to mend clocks. He loved taking things apart and seeing how they worked. So that's a really good interest, is take things apart, figure out how they work. And that's sort of an engineer's mind. Isambard's father, Mark Brunel, had a factory. He made wooden parts for Navy ships, for the British Navy. Mark invented machines to do the work faster, so he made machines that helped to build boats. Isambard started working for his dad. Their first big job together was to build a tunnel under the River Thames. Let's find out more about this on the next slide. Okay. Tunnel terror. In 1822, Brunel went to work for his father. They had a big job to dig a tunnel under the River Thames. They needed lots of strong, brave workers to dig the tunnel. This is what the tunnel looked like while it was being built. So a massive tunnel, and it's still there today. Like a lot of Brunel's projects, they've lasted a long time. Digging the Thames tunnel was very dangerous. Sometimes the tunnel collapsed. Water rushed in and everyone ran for their lives. Once, Brunel nearly drowned but was pulled out by a friend. So he was pulled out of the water, so he came very close to death. Okay, so this is what the Thames Tunnel looks like now. So it's still in use, a railway tunnel. The Thames Tunnel was opened in 1843. It is used by trains still today. Okay, so it's lasted a long time. Fantastic Victorian engineering. Took a lot of manpower, many men, to build this tunnel, even though Brunel was the chief engineer and designer. Okay, Brunel decided to work for himself. He entered a competition to build a bridge across a massive gorge in a town called Bristol. He won the competition. This is an old postcard of the bridge. Can you see how deep the gorge is? Okay, so let's have a look at the next slide. Okay, the Clifton Suspension Bridge. The bridge took a long time to build, and Brunel died before it was finished. The bridge is called the Clifton Suspension Bridge. It's a fantastic bit of engineering. Look how high it is over the River Gorge. Fantastic bit of engineering. Let's look at the next slide. So what did he do next? So he built a railway that went from London to Bristol, called the Great Western Railway. Can we see the steam engine, the train that's on the tracks? So that was a great feat of engineering, and he actually walked most of the route to survey the land and think about the best and fastest and straightest route from London to Bristol, because time was of the essence. A straight road, a straight railway would be much quicker than one with loads of bends. Okay, what else? He built a very big station in London called Paddington Station. Can you see the arches? They're wrought iron arches that are still there today. Okay, so wrought iron and the coal industry were really important. The iron industry and the coal industry and steel industry really helped us start up the great industrial revolution. Okay, what else? Again, he built ships. His most famous ship was called the SS Great Britain. It was a steamship, an iron steamship. Back then, most ships used sails. Steamships were much faster, and they weren't dependent on the weather, and they were a great success. Okay, finally, Isambard Kingdom Brunel was famous for wearing a tall hat. He died on the 15th of September 1859. So year 5 and 6, we've been learning about Brunel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to test you. I'm going to set you a short quiz, and I'm also going to show you some links. So the links I'm going to show you first. There's some YouTube videos that are well worth watching. What I suggest is you perhaps go through the PowerPoint again, take some notes, and also take some notes from the video clips. So I'm just going to show you the video clips now. They are available on Classroom Dojo as well, but if you can't access Classroom Dojo, just Google the links that I'm going to show you next. So here are some of the video links. Just copy them down, or just put BBC Key Stage 2 Brunel into Google, and you'll find some really interesting videos. Also, there's quite a few on YouTube, so there's some information here. You can also do your own research and find your own information, and perhaps put them on Classroom Dojo if you find anything interesting that you think might interest Mr. Jones. Okay, fantastic. So I'll just leave those on for a second so you can type them down. You can always freeze frame them. Okay, so next I'm going to set you the quiz. So do your research, take some notes, look at the PowerPoint again perhaps, and then try and answer the questions on the quiz and download them onto Classroom Dojo. See you later, year 5 and 6. So quiz question number 1. Where was Brunel born? Question 2. Why was Brunel's middle name Kingdom? Who's it named after? Where did it come from? Question 3. How old was Brunel when he worked with his father on the tunnel underneath the Thames? Question 4. In what year was he appointed Chief Engineer for the new Great Western Railway? Question 5. What river did the Clifton Suspension Bridge cross? Question 6. What was the name of the world's largest ship at the time of its launch in 1843? Question 7. Both SS Great Western and SS Great Britain were designed by Brunel for transatlantic voyages between Bristol and which other city? The clues in transatlantic. Question 8. What is 2 miles long and took 6 years to build? Question 9. What material was used to make the hull on the SS Great Britain? And question 10. How old was Brunel when he died? Okay, so that's our Brunel quiz. Hopefully you'll find the answers to those. Post your answers on Classroom Dojo and let me know what you think. In fact, see if you could come up with a couple of questions from Mr. Jones about Brunel, and I'll try and answer them. Okay, Year 5 and 6, that's enough of Brunel at the moment. What we're going to be looking at later in the next lesson is how to build our own bridge. The tools we've got are newspaper and sellotape. So you've got to really think carefully like an engineer. Okay, Year 5 and 6, see you soon. Over and out.